what we also said on the meeting is we're going to be talking about the standard operating guidelines. There's been some changes that have been included there, and this does not require a vote to accept because it's not an official corporate document. It is just it's a guideline that we like to hold. And so we're going to talk about it. And what I want everybody to do is if you have questions during this, please let me know. Those people on Zoom, please speak up, okay? So we created the Salt Lake County ARIES created a SOG, a Standard Operating Guideline. And I took the basics, the foundation of that, and this was years ago, and made the Murray Amateur Radio Club's guideline document. So the purpose is to identify what needs to happen and how to do it in a grid down event or some type of event, right? Members of MARC are encouraged to read this document and make it a part of their what they do within ham radio. Okay, this document is very, very good in my opinion. So let me just pass these up here. Yes, we know there's lots of stuff in here. Okay, so that's what we talked about. And by the way, this is, can you guys see this, the document that I have? What in the world? Oh my goodness. I'm just going to go by here. Okay. Let's go page up. Okay. So the Word document is on the website. Okay. So everybody can download it. It has our mission statement. We've already gone over that. Here's the important part. MARC is and always shall be held as a public service, not-for-profit organization, dedicated to serve the community in which it functions. That is why we can become a 501c3. Work as a volunteer group without compensation to its members or officers for any and all services provided. So we have a code of conduct. We are highly visible when we are out doing our events, right? Everybody knows when we're doing the parade, the guys in the vests are us, or at least we try to make people aware of that, right? And in the other event that we do. And so we need to follow guidelines when it comes to representing MARC and ham radio and your own self. So we are not policy makers, we are not decision makers, we are not incident commanders. We are highly skilled communicators. That's our whole goal. Our priority during any incident is to accurately and efficiently pass messages from one person to another, right? Our goal is to receive the message and get that message out to whoever it needs to be. And that message that we deliver has to be the same message that we received, right? Remember the kindergarten, everybody's with your chairs in a circle, and you whisper into the person, and by the time it comes back to the teacher, it's completely different. We did that a number of years ago, if you remember, in Station 83, where I wanted to prove a point, and I just gave a very simple sentence, and we had probably about this many, maybe a little bit more. And the word was came around, and by the time I got it, it was hilarious. Well, that's the whole idea of ham radio, and that is to become proficient communicators, right? So people representing MARC will be dressed appropriately if time permits, and you always present yourself in a professional manner. MARC agents are not agents of the agency. So when we are out doing an event, if we're representing Murray City, we are not Murray City representatives, employees. We are Murray Amateur Radio Club communicators, okay? We have no authority to act for and behalf of the agency. No MARC member is authorized to use the name of the agency without the agency's permission. We cannot use logos. And as a matter of fact, when I first founded the Murray Amateur Radio Club, I wanted to use the Murray M orange logo that Murray has, and I spent a lot of time making a logo for MARC with that. And then I found out I can't do that. So we did our own. And I think, and that was a club project, and I think it turned out really well. So we provide communication services only. Radio operators on duty are not expected to serve any other function. So if we're doing an event and someone asks you to perform open heart surgery, tell them, no, I'm a radio operator. You keep that scalpel, okay? I, of course, jest, I say that in jest, but it's amazing, and I've been to some of the events that sometimes people want you to do other things. And that's okay so long as it does not interfere with your primary task of communicating, okay? It's very simple. And here's the thing that a lot of people forget in any organization. No policy or guideline can substitute for good judgment. All MARC members must use common sense in fulfilling their duties. If you just use your gut, you're going to be okay. Which means that those of us with a big gut are really doing well, huh? Yes. Nothing in this SOG or any other MARC guide should serve to limit the actions of the operator who is on site and best able to assist in prevailing conditions. All media inquiries, where do they go? If someone comes and asks you a question from the media, social media, we are not a spokesman for Murray City. We tell them to go talk to the agency's PIO, which, who can tell me what a PIO is?
Public Information Officer.
Public Information Officer. Thank you very much. Okay. So, members of MARC, we're qualified individuals who have dedicated many hours in this hobby, right? And why do we practice? Why do we come to club every week? Why do we have our go kits? Why do we do what we do? Why do we do nets?
Make sure our radios are working and we can communicate.
We can communicate. That's the key sentence right there, so that we can communicate effectively. I'm going to add that little word, okay? Especially in a major disaster. What are three things that happen when the grid goes down? When the grid goes down, there is no electricity. What happens? Well, that is the grid going down.
Chaos.
Well, that happens, yes. What goes down, though? Chaos goes up.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Water.
Water and electricity.
Well, that is the grid going down. So no water. What else? No sanitation.
Yeah.
All that requires electricity to move, and no communications. And two of those three things will kill you. Okay? Lack of sanitation and drinking bad water, right? Not having communications may kill you if you're not getting the right information. Okay? If you need to bug out because something happened on a train track near here, and there's a green gas that is covering Murray, I want to know that really quick. Do I have enough time to bug out, or do I stay in place and prepare my house so that none of the toxic stuff comes in? You don't know that without communication, right? And so, anyway, the main body of the leadership within MARC provides guidance and training. That's what we try to do anyway. And hopefully we're a resource to help everybody out. We hold our weekly on-the-air nets on 22396, and we come to this fire station number 81 for our in-person meetings. We have three deployment levels, okay? We haven't really talked a lot about that, and this year I want to really focus on everybody getting to at least a level 2. Level 1 is something that everybody should be right now. They have some type of bag to carry their gear in. They have an HT. They have an owner's manual that they have accessible. They have a spare battery, copy of the FCC license. And we need to talk about an official MARC badge ID. When I put that in there, I'm thinking of the Salt Lake County Aries badges that we have. That's up for discussion. If somebody has an idea of why we shouldn't have it or why we should, I'd like to hear. Okay, I don't think these are official badges. Okay, these are just name tags. Okay, I would like something a little bit more official, especially when we're out doing deployments. Okay, but that we can talk about later. So everybody should be at least a level 1 right now. Level 2 is everything that a level 1 has, plus a roll-up J-pole, a 50-foot RG8X, so that you can implement a larger antenna, a couple of ICS forms, maybe a 50-watt mobile radio, so you can do some type of event with a mobile radio. Owner's manual, of course, and power supplies and the ability to charge it up. Level 3 is everything that level 1 and level 2 has, plus a laptop, the complete set of ICS forms, ways to keep your radio running. And I think that's a great place to, a great goal to have, okay? And we can all, what I'd like to do is create a spreadsheet and give it to everybody, and I want you to mark off what you have in levels 1, 2, and 3, and that kind of gives you a goal as to, you know, what you need to do you'll know what you need to do to up the level. Okay, so what happens when there's a deployment? Okay, so planned deployment. So we have a couple of exercises that we do during the year. We have the 4th of July parade and the safety fair. I'd like to do a little bit more than that. But these are opportunities for us to practice what we preach, right? And of course we have nets every week. And Utah SAG, I can't say enough good about them. If you have the ability to volunteer at a Utah SAG event, please do. I'd love to have anybody who can work with me for the Wasatch 100. I'm at Decker Canyon aid station, which is aid station number 13. The last aid station before they get to the finish line. When the runners hit my aid station, they are beat. And that is such an understatement. And so I love being an aid station worker there because, you know, we handle communications and we make sure that the runners are coming in, and when they leave, we let net control know that they've left. And we do that all in using packet radio. And so we have a lot of fun out there doing it. And it's a 24-hour event. It is fun to have. It's fun to do. So I strongly suggest, if you want to have a lot of fun with ham radio, do stuff like that. So why do we do all of these events? We do all of these events to prepare for a real grid down event, okay? How many people, by a show of hands and Zoom, how many people have been in a grid down event? Okay, very, very few. That is my point. We don't, too many of us, how many people on Zoom raise their hands, Jeff?
I'm looking.
Okay.
I'm kind of curious what the events are. These guys have time to share.
Okay.
Only one responded.
I'll start, okay? Couple things. Hurricane in Pennsylvania, Hurricane Agnes. We were down for a week, okay? And I was in Lancaster, and Hurricane Agnes was miles and miles away, and it took us down for a long time. I was in 2 7.5 and 7.4 earthquakes in Chile, if you don't think that's a game changer, if you don't think that takes the grid down, we didn't have power for a month plus, okay? So those are my two biggest experiences. Yes?
It was in Hurricane Hugo. It was without power for 18 days and without water for 3.
Sherwood was in Hurricane Hugo without power 18 days and what?
Without water for 3.
And without water for 3. How many days does it take if you don't drink water before you die?
3.
3.
We had a tub full of water, but we didn't have
Right.
running water.
Right. Okay. Who else? You had a grid down event.
This many years ago, and out in college, we had one because they had a disaster in California. And I also participated, this is so long ago, when Kennedy was assassinated.
It was a grid down event when Kennedy was assassinated?
And the reason why is because everybody tried to call everybody else and it shut the communication.
It shut the communications down. Okay. The things you learn.
Spent the whole day doing nothing but replacing fuses while we were trying to, establish communication.
Crazy. Yes, Jeff.
Ed said that he was in the 1988 San Francisco earthquake,
Who?
and Jan said that Hurricane Camille in the 1960s, power was out for 2 weeks, water was out for a week, sewer out for almost 10 days.
Yeah. So when the grid goes down, bad things happen. Okay. Okay. So we're going to talk. Yes, sir.
Locally here, out in Kearns, the power was down for 3 days. I don't know how wide across the valley it was, but I know that part of the valley was without power. Also back in...
Okay, stand by right there. So Russ says that 3 days in Kearns, the power was out, at least in Kearns, so it could have been just a local issue, okay?
In October, roughly 86, 85, we had a huge snowstorm come through, all the leaves on the trees, and companies lost power. I mean, all the power was out, but companies lost their generators because they didn't have enough diesel storage.
In approximately 88, right? We had a huge, and I think I remember that. I remember, and I had a 4-wheel drive, and I had to go into work because we were one of the places that we were down. Our generators were there, and we were actually running. So I had to go into work. And going to work, the trees, it looked like someone took a huge helicopter with blades that were 30 miles wide and chopped all the trees down to the same level. You remember that?
Yeah.
It's just like, holy moly. It blew me away. Anyway, so what do we do when the worst happens? Well, there's a couple things we can do. One, I learned a long time ago, when in trouble and in doubt, run in circles, scream and shout. That's one thing you can do. Or you can be prepared, right? And learn and do that kind of stuff. So here's the procedure, okay? And this is something that we all need to take to heart. When the worst happens, should you become aware of or be part of any type of event that might cause you to become in danger, I think that's bad grammar, but you know what I mean. The first thing to do is to secure yourself and your family, whoever's living with you. Everything else is secondary. I don't care about you guys right seconds after the 8.9 earthquake, okay? My first concern is with my wife, okay? If my wife is good, then I'll consider you guys. But not until then, okay? So the first thing to do is secure yourself and your family. If you or your family member require medical attention, first try 911. It might not be down. It probably is. You'll know that because all of a sudden your systems in your home will not be available. And if it's an earthquake, you'll probably see no signal on your phone. Since most forms of communication might also be down, you must not rely on calling 911 alone. As a matter of fact, you should never rely on that. You might have to put your own medical training to practice in order to stop the bleed or perform CPR. Okay, so if there's a medical issue, don't think that Murray Fire is going to come and help, okay? It's not going to happen. If it's an earthquake, they may not even get their trucks out of the bay. And who knows what the roads look like out here after a 7.5, okay? For this reason, it is important that we all take measures to learn basic first aid, including and especially stopping the bleed and CPR. I can't stress that enough. As a matter of fact, on Saturday, I'm taking an entire day. I belong to the Timpanogos Emergency Response Team in Provo, and we have, every other month, we have a big medical training, and this is a chance for me to practice my EMT skills and become better. You know, just because I was an EMT back in '79 doesn't mean jack diddly today, okay? So over the course of many years, you keep on this, and it makes a huge difference. Okay, if you and your household are relatively uninjured and you are able to, then as a ham radio operator who has decided to become part of the bigger picture, you'll take your radio and turn it to where? Our club repeater, okay? If our repeater is up and running, it probably won't be, because right now we don't have, we're not protected against the loss of grid power. We're trying to fix that. Then what do we do? Okay, so if you receive a squelch tone, then you know that the repeater works. If not, then we go to our secondary, which is the simplex of 223440, and our tertiary frequency is channel 56, which is 147.600, which is in the standard load that everybody should have. Okay, we have two simplex frequencies that we are able to use, and the repeater frequency. Then we make calls on whatever frequency we're using. If the repeater's up, we do it on the repeater. If not, we do 223440. And every 15 minutes on the 0, 15, 30, 45, we call in saying that we are listening for other members, okay? And we keep doing that. Once there's members that come up on frequency, then guess what? You start a net. Who starts the net? Anyone that's there. Don't wait for anybody, because first of all, I know I may be a victim, right? I may not even be here. I could be in Provo when all this happens, and I can't even get into Salt Lake County, right? So you start the net. Okay, and so we already know about that. If the agency that we're serving, which is Murray City, if they're dealing with the Safe Neighborhood Program, now known as the Safe Hub Program, then we'll do stuff with that. It's in yellow because it is in flux. The program is in flux, so we're not sure what we need to do there. Here's the important part here, though. Communications for Murray Fire, the 800 megahertz system, is probably going to be down. This is why they bought the repeater for us, right? So we can work with the fire department and be with the trucks, and somebody will be over at the EOC. During the net that everybody should be getting into, we're going to decide, hey, who can get to the EOC? Where's the EOC at? Murray City EOC. Fire Station 83, right on 59th and on the other side of the highway.
About 4 houses from me, or a couple streets up.
Yep.
I can walk through it in 5 minutes.
Excellent.
The question I have, will that even be working if the power's gone?
Not our repeater.
So we're on the simplex.
Yeah, we're on the simplex frequencies, yeah.
And I'd like to point out too, even though when Kennedy was assassinated many years ago, and that, the system couldn't handle it. And the same thing will happen today. Everybody thinks that, everybody can be on a cell phone, but they can't. They can't handle it. All in the news, you can't do that.
Well, as a matter of fact, I've worked in the telecom industry that's my career. And I know for a fact that if your name is not on a database, whether or not the cell towers are up is a moot point. You will not make calls, okay? They reduce the amount of people who can call if the system is up and running down to a bare minimum, because they do not want to have their system go down, because it will go down if they don't control it. So they know right off the bat when to do that, and it's a very, very, very quick and dirty method that they use to do it. It takes a single push of a button for everybody that's not on the white list to not be able to call. Now, texting, you might still be able to work, okay? So consider that. But phone calls, So you have to be on the white list. If the system is up and running, chances are in a 7.5, a lot of the towers are not going to be running, okay? We don't know. That's the whole problem. Yes?
Well, just the earthquake that happened 5 years ago out in Magna.
That little piddly thing.
A 5 point whatever, 5.3 or whatever.
Yeah, 5.7.
Took the cell phones pretty much out for
Yeah.
at least 3-4 hours.
Yeah. You know, I talk to people, I've talked to a lot of people in California, as a matter of fact, and when I ask the question, who has been in a grid down event, everybody likes to say, hey, I was in a 6.7 earthquake there when the World Series was going on, you know, and when I went through the 7.5 and 7.4 earthquake, we had aftershocks bigger than the 6.7 earthquake, okay? That ain't nothing. The difference between a 6.7 and a 7.5 is huge, okay? Okay, but I digress. So we will need to decide, someone needs to man the radio at the EOC, and that is decided on the net, okay? And the rest of the people will decide where the person in the EOC will then find out from Murray City how best what we can do to help with communications to the fire trucks, because all the fire trucks do not have, they only have their 800 megahertz radios, right? And so,
They're not working right now either, that well.
yeah, exactly. So they will tell us how we can help them out, okay? We had a drill with them a couple of years ago, if you remember, where we followed the fire trucks, and we weren't allowed to be on the trucks because of liability issues. That might change though in a huge disaster, okay? They may say to the attorneys, you can go do whatever. We need these people on the trucks, okay? Because we need to have communication. Our communications, this is the thing that's going to work, this ham radio, okay? So anyway. Okay, and if you have other duties like a church or Red Cross or family responsibilities, then continue with them. If you're on the net, tell the net that I can't help with Murray City, I have other responsibilities, and make sure you tell somebody that though, right? And that has to be done on the net. Okay, so on a good day, equipment failures happen, right? So we need to prepare for that in a grid down event. How many people have heard of 3 is 2, 2 is 1, 1 is none? That is a old military, I'm not sure if they call it a motto or a mantra or whatever, but I agree with 100%. Carrying 2 radios, couple antennas, couple batteries. That's why on my HT Go kit has at least 2 batteries. It has multiple antennas so that I can have this one break and another antenna will be in its place. There's nothing worse than having a nice radio and you can't talk on it because your antenna is broken or missing, okay? So, verify your location if you're asked to go someplace. talk to somebody, make sure that they know that you're there and you're ready to rock and roll. Weather is always an unknown factor. We like to hope that the 7.5 earthquake will happen in May after a good rain where we have a lot of water that we've been filling our bathtubs with, and we're ready for it. And it's 70 degrees outside, right? Guess what's really going to happen? Probably. It'll be in February after a massive snowstorm at 2 in the morning. Okay? We don't know when it's going to happen. We have to be prepared for any eventuality. Our served agency is Murray Fire Department, and he's the emergency manager. And so I see him every month at the Murray City Coalition meeting, and we talk quite a bit, not as much as I'd like to, but we're going to ramp up our discussions to get the Safe Hub in Murray City, see what they're going to do with that. We'll be supporting them, and most importantly, getting backup power to our repeater. We've already submitted a solar system to keep that up and running, so we're not reliant on the grid, and so we'll see what happens. Let's see, here's the standard load that we have for MARC, and again, all this is on the website, so all this should be in your radios. There's the intertie.
Dan,
Yes.
could you take it easy on that key there that's computer abuse?
Dan, Mike mentioned, if anybody wasn't on the VHF Society net on Tuesday, they have, well, no, not the swap meet, they have added 2 or 3 repeaters on the intertie. One in Orem, one up in Morgan, and the other one in Price. I don't have the frequency of the one in Price, but
Okay.
the other 2 are on the website.
Okay, great. Here is the standard operating guideline that you can download from our website, and it has exactly what I just talked about. In addition, it has a glossary. Everything that I talked about is in here. In addition, there's some, okay, right on the operating procedures, we have a principles of disaster communications that kind of leads you on how to do things. And so things to look at. Talk about message precedence as something is an emergency versus a priority versus welfare versus routine. We talk about CANS reports. There's the net control, the different types of nets that we have. Here's the emergency net instructions. So it's up to you guys to download this and read this, because this is how we're going to run the net during a grid down event, okay? There's the ITU phonetic alphabet. There's some keywords that we all probably know already. And my suggestion to you, it's not Oliver, it's Quentin. Okay, how did I get from Oliver to Quentin? Quentin, download this. This is a great place to start, okay? It talks about a lot of things that you'll be using anyway, including the RST system. You know, we always go, especially in HF, this is so critical in talking about signal, quality of the signal. We talk about messaging app for, and everybody knows that we are using Signal, right? And everybody should be on the Signal app. If not, let me know. We talk about Go Kits. Here's some considerations that you can, just a suggestion that I've put together that's in my Go Kits. And remember that Go kits not only include radios, but an equipment kit, right? And things for making you comfortable, including water and different things to eat. There's a lot of extra spaces in there for you to put your own stuff in there. And then you can check off whether you have it in 3 different locations there. How many people have a get home bag if they still go to work? Right? Most people don't. You know, that's something to consider if you're not home. How many people have a bug out bag at their home? You know, a 96-hour bug out bag. And I'm not talking about a fanny pack with a couple of granola bars. Okay? I'm talking about something that will sustain you for 96 hours. Just things to consider. Clothes and bedding. So here's the documents that you should have. You should have this stuff anyway, already ready to, you know, if you have to vacate, you know how many people lost priceless things in the last Los Angeles fire? You know, people lost everything. So many people, they escaped with just whatever they had on their back, right? We can prepare for that. There's the different forms checklist as well. We talked about WinLink. Some of this stuff we're still revising, and so some of this stuff may change. What's a tactical call sign? Anybody?
When it's used in an event, and people that are going in to check will have a call sign for what they're doing.
Okay, so Sherwood says that a tactical call sign is during an event, they'll use another way of identifying themselves, right? But we all know that after we use our tactical call sign, what do we do at the end of our conversation? We use our regular call sign, right? Sometimes people forget that part, right? Okay. There's the Murray fire stations that we could be deployed to. Here's all the schools that we may be deployed to. Here is Nick's information, and here's some maps. There's Murray City, there's Salt Lake County, the state of Utah. And here's some forms that Net Control will use when during a deployment. And there's a regular message form that we all know about that we use. There's a organization diagram that we learn when we go through the ICS training. We can see that underneath the logistics, communication should be here, right there. This is communications under logistics. Okay, and here's our ICS 205 form that right now is okay to use. The important stuff is there. We have the primary. We have the 220 simplex, and we have Murray City. This is what Salt Lake County ARES assigned us, this 147-600 simplex. Why do you think Salt Lake County ARES coordinated frequencies for all the cities in Salt Lake County?
They don't want to reach probably.
Okay, they don't want
So much traffic.
They don't want so much traffic. They don't want, we want to assign frequencies to certain areas, and everybody else should not be using those frequencies. Because what happens with ham radio? This is not an FRS radio, right? Especially in your truck, your vehicle, you have 50 watts shooting out there. Even without a repeater, I talk people to simplex in West Valley, okay? I do not want to hear West Valley's traffic when we're trying to deal with an event, okay? And they don't want to hear Murray City's traffic, okay? So that's why we all have individual frequencies that were assigned, okay? So Murray City, this frequency, 147-600 simplex, is just for Murray City. No one else can use it, okay? And that's it. That's the SOG document that can be downloaded from the web. Any questions?
During the the flood and tornadoes that had back east, were there any active damage or radio clubs helping out, or did the stars?
Okay, so back east, when not only the tornadoes, but like the North Carolina, yeah, all that type of stuff. Yes, as a matter of fact, there was the Rat Pack had someone who was there give a presentation on how ham radio helped, okay? And they were critical in talking to these people that were without communications for weeks, okay? As a matter of fact, their roads, there was one city, I'll call it a town, that the road was completely decimated. No one could get in or out of that town for weeks, okay? But we had a ham radio operator sending messages, and they were able to helicopter things in that they needed, okay? They couldn't have done that without ham radio, okay? Yes, Jeff?
I'm a little late, but Jan points out that we did have a class on tactical call signs.
Yep.
And the documentation is available on our website.
Okay, so most everything that we've talked about tonight, we've already discussed in a presentation. And if you just go to our website, murrayarc.org, and look for previous presentations, do a search for tactical, and you'll see a presentation that we had on that. I think Jan gave that presentation. Also, you'll find the standard operating guideline presentation on there as well. Tonight's presentation will go on there.